Councillor Andrews, are you back? Councillor Gerwing? Okay, thank you. Well, welcome to tonight's regular Regional Council meeting. We'd like to acknowledge the Northern Rockies Administration Center is located in the heart of the traditional territories of the Dene, Cree, and Danezaa peoples of the Prophet River and Fort Nelson First Nations. We further recognize the rights provided by our treaty. Finally, we celebrate the contributions and the enduring presence of the Métis people in our nation. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, adoption of the agenda, please. Moved by Councillor Souls, second by Councillor Roper. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There are 4 sets of minutes there. The special regional council meeting of November 23rd, the regional council of December 12th, special regional council of December 12th, and special regional council of December 15th for adoption. So moved by Councillor Roper. Second by Councillor Enax. All in favor? Opposed? Those are carried. Is there any business arising out of those minutes? I have one item which can probably wait till I give my report, but there was a meeting with Parliamentary Secretary Doug Routley. The CAO and I had a bit of a meeting with him, which came out of the request, the letter of request that we had, or concern or disappointment we had, I guess, of not having a representative on the forestry committee. So I'll talk about that because we've got a delegation and sometimes. This is the public comment period. Are there any questions from the public?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question.
Yes, thanks. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Ms. Vanderteen, thank you very much.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a quick comment on the item in correspondence on the warden's cabin. Just to let Regional Council know that this has also been a topic at the Tourism Advisory Committee. Unfortunately, I just saw it today, so I'm not necessarily prepared to speak to it, but it has been noted in several of our meetings, the historical importance of that building. So I just wanted council to be aware. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else online? Okay, thank you. So that brings us to 6.1, which is our delegation from the BC Rural Health Network. We have 2 gentlemen here representing the network. Mr. Paul Adams is the executive director. And Colin, I can't quite see your name on this. Is it Colin? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for coming to our council meeting. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship, and honourable members of council. We have a short presentation, about 5 minutes, and then we can open up for any questions that you may have. So I'm a little rusty because of the holiday break, but hopefully everything works here. Just give me a second. Oh, I do need to be made into a presenter.
Yeah, we'll get you. Just one sec. Sorry about that, Paul.
No worries.
It should be good for you now. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. No worries. So if everything is working as planned, you should see a picture Grand.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
And I shall start from the beginning, and it should have sound. Thank you, Your Worship, and honourable members of Council for the opportunity to meet with you today. I am presenting today from the Upper Similkameen and the traditional territory of the Silks First Nation, home to the Upper Similkameen Indian Band, and just outside the community of Princeton, BC. We have come today to request your membership in our network, to help increase the voice of rural residents on their health and well-being. We are in a healthcare crisis, and increasing our voice is critical to ensure rural health equity is realized and stabilized throughout our province. The impacts of not addressing rural healthcare affects everyone. It is time to address the unique nature of rural challenges which require rural-specific solutions. We are a collective of individuals, rural health advocacy groups, rural volunteers, rural healthcare providers, rural research groups, and nonprofits who provide rural programming and support. The group originally formed as a collective of local advocacy groups who championed rural health during the centralization of services. We have grown, and we are growing rapidly. Our purpose is to share successful strategies in an effort to address rural healthcare concerns. We advocate for policy changes that provide all rural residents with attachment to a healthcare practitioner. We identify areas of research aimed at improving access to healthcare in rural communities and provide fertile ground for research to take place. We inform the Ministry of Health in regards to rural healthcare concerns and recommend solutions to the improvement of services to rural BC residents. We work in partnership with other provincial organizations to influence policy change that improve access to healthcare services. We recognize the healthcare concerns of Indigenous communities and include their issues and concerns as part of our work. And we improve access to mental health services and addiction support services. We promote patient-centered community-based primary healthcare reform. We are a conduit of communication. We listen to our membership and the general public and hear about community-level challenges. We transfer knowledge to our membership and the general public from trusted sources. We also transfer knowledge from the membership and the general public to governments. And we provide local and regional solutions to authorities through high-level interaction with policymakers. We inform the grassroots of our communities, our volunteers, our hospice workers, our community services, and generally work to improve the recognition of rural healthcare providers. Community volunteers are the backbone of the BC Rural Health Network. We advocate for equity in health outcomes for all British Columbians, for the ability to live in place in rural BC, for a robust public healthcare system, for science-based management and solutions, and for community-centric care and community-based health management teams. We are apolitical, we are solutions-based, and we are a registered charity. We are here today to ask for you to join us. Your community voice is needed and wanted by our network. As the saying goes, once you've visited one rural community in BC, you have visited one rural community in BC. Each community in rural BC is unique and has its own unique problems and solutions. We cannot champion each individual problem faced, but we can find common areas that will improve health and wellness for many rural communities. Rural residents are resourceful and resilient, and we have solutions to offer. With a louder voice, we will ensure we are not just listened to, but heard. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Okay.
So thank you, Your Worship. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, we're here to answer.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. Give us a bit of an idea what you're all about. Appreciate you coming and putting that request before us. Are there any questions for the Rural Health Network? Councillor Gerwing?
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation. Are you governed by like a board of directors, or what's your structure?
Yep, we have a board of directors. Colin is the vice president of the group. Peggy Skelton is our current president. We have another 7 active board members, and then we have liaison representation coming to us from the Rural Centre of BC, from the Community Health Centre Association of British Columbia. We have representation from the BCHC, and we have liaison representation from the Rural Health Research Department at UBC. And that would be Dr. Jude Cornelson, and she's also the chair of our implementation committee, where we're taking rural-based research and we're making policy suggestions on how to implement that into practice in rural communities.
Okay, if I may ask another question, Mayor?
Yes, please. Yep, go ahead.
So if we decided to join the network, how would our voice be heard?
It's up to you on how you want to get involved. We'd certainly invite you into committee level meetings, so you'd be welcome to join our implementation committee. And we're aware of some of the challenges up in Fort Nelson and the municipality of the Northern Rockies. I'm quite familiar with the area from just travel and spending time in your neck of the woods. So we're very aware of the distances involved in getting into other larger centers for specialty care and those types of challenges. Our implementation committee is broadly represented from all over BC. And again, we look for solutions-based approaches to problems, and we try to find commonality between rural communities. So, you know, transport, out-of-pocket expenses, those things are front and center of our agenda right now. And we have a meeting actually of the implementation committee on Thursday, and we'll be finalizing our position paper there on out-of-pocket expense and transportation. We've also created a position paper around community-centric approaches to care. We continue on very rapidly within that committee on moving agenda items forward. One of the next ones is going to be maternity care for rural residents, and again, they all overlap and tie into each other, whether it's transport, out-of-pocket expense, or access to care directly. And you know, we champion common causes, so you're welcome to take a back seat, and we'll inform you of our progress, or you're welcome to get directly involved in the network, right into the board level if that was a desire of the community to get involved at that level.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions? Councillor Roper, or sorry, Councillor Soul.
So can you briefly describe what got your organization started?
Yeah, so back in the early 2000s with the regional centralization of care, you'll know that a lot of regional local advocacy groups came out of the woodwork in order to try and protect and keep services within communities. We had that happen locally in my community here in the Upper Similkameen outside of Princeton, and a lot of advocacy work from a local group created stability for our emergency room and hospital. And there were a variety of other groups doing the same thing around BC, but none of them were talking to each other or providing cross information. And it was government actually that came to the network at that point, and well, to the Princeton chapter of the organization, and suggested that they form an umbrella group of all organizations of similar nature to combine that voice and to make it more effective. And that's where the BC Rural Health Network came out of. So it was some of those existing groups out of the early 2000s that eventually sat down at a table in 2017 and brought the BC Rural Health Network into existence. Since then, it's grown relatively organically. And Colin Moss, who's joined me on the call today, is a municipal councillor with the Village of New Denver. He can speak a little bit to what he recognized as being the benefits of municipal engagement and participation. So I'll hand it over to Colin to give a bit of insight from that perspective.
Yeah, good evening, Your Worship, councillors and staff. I'll try and keep it brief. I know you don't have too much time for delegations here, but about 6 years ago, the fire chief at the time and myself, I was the chair of our local Chamber of Commerce Health Committee. Our health authority had just moved to close or drastically reduce the hours in the Village of New Denver. We had also lost a physician. And so we started basically galvanizing our community to fight for reinstatement of our ER and physician recruitment. And at the time, we thought and realized we would be much more effective as elected representatives. So the fire chief at the time ran for mayor, I ran for councillor. We were both elected. That was 4 years ago. We've just been re-elected. And along the way, we felt our voice wasn't being heard by health authority or provincial health ministry. And we thought, we need a BC-wide voice to be heard. We need a lot of members. And so we were actually going to form a province-wide network. And then we heard the BC Rural Health Network had just been started, so we joined. Now I'm the vice president, I'm the membership chair. Mayor of New Denver is on the board because of his long-term standing as fire chief. He's also chair of our emergency operations committee. So we feel that municipalities, regional districts, governing bodies rurally have a big role to play in their local state of their local health care. And then there's a whole other economic side to it. The state of rural BC's economic health depends largely on the state of their health care. Tourism, business, resident attraction, retention, a lot of it depends on healthcare. So it's all intertwined, and that's how we became involved. And we're trying to get as big a voice as we can. We've got hospice societies, chambers of commerce, municipalities. We're going to conduct a regional district membership drive here soon. We've got seniors organizations, mental health, local health care groups. Basically, anybody who's concerned with rural health is more than welcome to join our network. And I could talk for another hour here, so I better stop.
Councillor Andrews?
What are some of the proudest moments, successes that the network has had to date?
So we have focused recently on raising the profile of the network and bringing us into media attention and getting meetings with policymakers and decision makers. So, we cannot come forward and say that we've solved problems within rural health because there are so many and they're so deep. But we are gaining access now to decision makers and influencers and people who are involved in the policy decisions directly in government. So we now have a quarterly meeting where Leanne Heppel, who's the Chief Ambulance Officer for the province and VP of BC Emergency Health Services, comes to our board meeting and makes a presentation and takes questions and answers and is giving us access to areas which were often closed book and didn't provide information. So we get raw data and information out of BCEHS. We're meeting with the executives of health authorities. We're meeting with cabinet ministers. We've had some, the recent cabinet shuffle moved people like Nathan Cullen from being municipal affairs into other areas, but we had support there, and we're now seeking support with the new cabinet shuffle. One of the good pieces there was Catherine Conroy, who was previously Minister of Forests and is now the Finance Minister. And so we're hopeful that we're going to be able to utilize that relationship to get some core funding for the network. And again, we don't ask for a large membership fee. We ask for a very small membership fee because we want to increase the voice, and we're not looking to the members to fund the organization. We really see that our voice is going to provide a means to leverage funding from provincial and federal government to fund the work of the network.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I think you're preaching to the choir, gentlemen. I think that you know, we've recognized here and in the north, you know, certainly Peace River and the Northern Rockies districts recognize the dysfunction, I guess, of the health system in rural areas, and all of us have been doing some type of lobbying, either with the province or with the health authority, you know, because we recognize that that really we're getting the short end of the stick. And so I had just a couple of questions that were answered. I think I wanted, how many local governments did you have? I had that question, and you're right at the end of your presentation. It flicked up, and I didn't get a chance to follow it. It was so fast. But how many members have you got?
So we have 23 municipal members through order of council.
Right.
And that is going to expand hopefully tonight, but also from referrals to staff, which are still in the works, where some councils do not move agenda items forward at that meeting. They move it to the next meeting. Yeah. So we anticipate that there's a series of others that are going to come on board. And to be frank, we haven't had anybody that we presented to who has said no. You know, the ask is $50 for a membership fee. We think that we give you more bang for your buck than you can get anywhere for $50. And we think that again, adding the whole Northern Rockies municipality to the voice is a significant benefit to both you and to us.
Thank you. I agree with that. I wanted to know about membership requirements, and you've answered that question. And the last one was, I wanted to know if you had any successes with this ministry and this minister. And you know, it sounds like that's the lobbying effort is where you feel the most proud of your accomplishments. And Councillor Andrews asked that question already. So my questions have all been answered. You know, is that it from a membership requirement? It's essentially $50 and you're in.
$50, you're in, and I'll waive the $50 if you can't afford it.
Yeah. And do you have a website that's got some of these reports and advocacy papers that you talked about? Have you got one that we can review? You bet. So bcruralhealth.org. And we've been spending a good portion of 2022 on redeveloping that website to be an effective portal for rural residents. So you'll see a whole series of different things there, including a resource page which provides links to other organizations with rural programming and benefits to communities. We have a library, which basically is our blog, and I post out on that daily, pretty much on current news and events, but also our position papers and other activities. We're enhancing our membership pages, and we're growing rapidly. So again, with some funding, which we see as forthcoming with a series of grant applications we're in the process of, that we really will make a significant impact in advocacy on health for all rural British Columbians. Well, there's certainly a need to start organizing this collective that we all have a common issue, which is healthcare in the rural areas. So thank you, gentlemen, very much. I think we'll turn this over to our staff and get them to bring a report back to us, and we'll be talking to you soon. Well, we appreciate the opportunity and hope you have a good meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to reports, bylaws, policies. Admin report 0123, talking about tourism trade shows is up. So I'll turn it over to staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Me?
So this admin report is coming to you because it happens in the first quarter of the year. It happens in mainly February and early March. Before we have our formal budget done, we have been working with the Northeast BC Co-op for a number of years. And right before COVID, we had started working together with Northwest BC as well at these trade shows. So we're still kind of getting our feet under us, figuring it all out, but it's showing to be really successful in showcasing Northern BC and promoting a circle route, which is really attractive to especially Southern BC or Alberta travelers. So we're just looking for council's advice on if you would like NRM staff to attend these. And if so, we do need some budget.
Good. Thank you very much, Krista, for that. Are there any questions from council, please? Councilor Dickey.
I don't really have a question, but I do have a comment around it because we are working on the film, the graphic website promotional material. So I think it'd be really good to go to these tourism marketing co-ops to find out what they're doing to market their territories or their regions. So I think I think it's a great project.
Good. Councilor Andrews?
I've attended a couple of these in the past, and I think they are definitely a benefit to the municipality. The amount of different people we get coming through and just the knowledge we're able to share, the amount of questions people have of just being from the region, I think helps bring people come, and I would support this for sure.
Okay. Councilor Yanak?
I agree with everything that was said. Those trade shows are amazing, and you know that you can show them so much about your region and create the excitement of the Alaska Highway. I think it's a great opportunity.
Okay. What are council's wishes? I think there's a resolution there. Councilor Andrews.
Yeah, I would like to motion the recommended option that the NRRM supports staff to attend up to 3 tourism trade shows with the Northeast BC Tourism Marketing Co-op, and then a budget of $7,000 be pre-approved.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Andrews and second by Councilor Enox. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. So I have a question to, to the management generally around this. This is an operational issue, really, in my view. I'm just wondering why something like this comes to council for $7,000 that mostly is supported. Is there a history here? Is there an expectation that council will be involved? It just seems to me that, and of course, you know my concern about pre-approvals. Sure seems to me that if this is dealt with in a, you know, in the budget at an operational level, there's not a necessary need to come to us, right? At the council level. So you're looking at me like there's some kind of Councilor Souls, please.
I'll give a council perspective on that. Yes, there's quite a bit of history around this idea of councilors attending. The reason it came to council, at least from a councilor's point of view, was that there was often opportunity to make decision of which councilors to attach to which event. And that was done all in one shot at a council meeting. And so I know that it's gone on for quite a number of years to participate in these things. And there was usually either a couple of staff or a single staffer and one council member that would attend at this time. I see the structure is changing more into a regional focus, and so this is slightly different, but I think that's the history of why we came together.
Staff?
Yeah, so just add to what Councillor Sol said. So it was a bit of a high profile discussion back in the day. Where, and some additional costs added was back in the day also. So when the co-op was formed, there was some funding that was part of the co-op that actually did also look after all the costs at one point. I think just part of the pandemic, if the memory serves me right, Krista, or something to that nature anyhow. So we were discussing prior to the meeting, because it is truly really an operational item, but given the fact that it's traditionally been an item that's been on the special projects list for planning through the years, we didn't want to just look at it and say arbitrarily throw it in operation. So we said we throw in front of council, put it in front of council right now for them to take a look at. And also the option for council to attend is always there, and it can be part of the process operationally. And then of course the report acknowledges that this is something that council may wish, which I would suggest would be an operational budget moving forward, with the process of having discussions with council and the council budget, with the option if council wishes to have a staff attend in the future to do so.
Good. Well, can I suggest that we drop this into the budget discussions and make a policy decision to turn this back to an operational and an invitation to council to participate if, you know, if there's an opportunity to do that. You know, the report is we're sending X people and you're, you know, if council wants to travel, put it in the travel budget, then there's an opportunity to attend. So let's drop this into the discussion at budget time.
For sure.
Okay, good. Okay, that brings us to correspondence. There's two items of correspondence for discussion. The first one is a letter from John Weston. Council would like to discuss this. Motion for discussion would be in order. Moved by Councillor Souls. Second by Councillor Dickey that we discuss this. All in favor? Opposed? Carry. So there is a couple of things there. There is, well, I guess it's a letter and then an email from Ms. Iglinski. Is that how this came to us?
Mayor and council were copied on the letter, and yeah, it came by email.
Okay, is there an expectation from the group that we're going to do something with this? I hear a little bit of informal discussion around. I tend to agree with Mr. Weston's. You know, I think that there's some history there. I think his rub on the way the building was built and architecture, how it speaks volumes. Anybody who's been around and seen some of the trappers cabins around here will know that they're all built basically the same way with dovetailed corners, et cetera, et cetera. So, but in his opinion, that's an important way. And it's a historical building. And this is something I think we should be discussing with the nation and ultimately our heritage group, historical society. And I'd like to see us refer this to a discussion with them, if nobody else has any ideas. Councillor Andrews?
I'm of the same peace of mind. I would just like to add, can we make sure that we share this letter with those groups as well going forward?
Sure. So in our request, perhaps with our meeting with the nation, we put that letter on there as one of the discussion items that we might have with them. And then also, I guess, notice to the Historical Society that we're interested in discussing. We received this and we're interested in having a discussion. We don't have to say when, it's just that they know then that we're at least interested. Everybody's okay with that?
Can we add TAC to that list?
Okay, good. Is that direction good enough? I'm seeing some shakes that you don't need a resolution.
I think we're okay.
We're good? Okay. The next is a letter from Ryan Staley, the president of Coastal Rides. I think discussion is in order. Moved by Counselor Dickey, second by Counselor Souls. Were you seconding Counselor Andrews, or do you have something to say?
Just a second.
Okay, so it's open for discussion. Does anybody, Counselor Souls?
Just in reading this, it's pretty obvious that the proponent here is in the business of doing this creative rideshare thing, but it's really just internal community rides, not so much highway trips and Greyhound buses and things like that. And I think I'm not sure how big of an appetite. Apparently, we have a new taxi service that's up and running. Whether that's getting off the ground well or not, I'm not really sure. But I think there's other ways that this is being addressed. So far.
Thank you. Anybody else? So question to staff, have we spoken to this guy at all yet? Like, do we have a staff member that's interacting, or is it just his letter so far?
Yeah, Hillary's been interacting. I didn't get a chance to, I actually mentioned this before the meeting tonight, and it didn't get an opportunity to catch up with her,
Right.
but there has been conversation with the planning department, specifically Hillary, around this. Yeah.
I wonder if we get the grant to do this regional transportation study, if we defer this to that to include it as a potential option, does that make sense from staff's perspective? Because there's really not a lot here for us to deal with yet.
No, it makes absolute sense. Just kind of look at that big picture, see how it fits in the bigger plan if we do get the grant for sure.
Okay, can we write them a letter telling them that? Thank you very much for your request. We're gonna move this to to a study that we hope to do on regional transportation. Thank you. Oh, hands up. Councillor Goering, please. Sorry.
That's okay. That was just my point that you just made, that I think it should be referred to the transportation study as well. But that said, that if we don't get the grant, I think we shouldn't lose sight of this. I don't want to compete with any local taxi company, but they sort of come and they sort of go. So if there are other options available, I would hate to lose sight of that.
Thank you. That's a good idea. And I don't think it hurts our staff to continue the dialogue, in the short term with these people. Okay, good. If there's nothing else with that, we'll move on to items 8.3, 8.4, and 8.5, which are all items for information. I'd like to just receive those as a block. Is there anybody willing to make that resolution? Moved by Councillor Souls, second by Councillor Enax, that we receive those for information. Is there any discussion? Is there anybody who needs to pull one of those out? Seeing none, all in favor to receive them as a block? Opposed? That's carried. The information package, can we receive it? Moved by Councillor Souls, second by Councillor Dickey, that we receive the information package for information. Discussion, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. New business. There is none. And standing items for discussion. Council reports. Report what it was like in Mexico. Are there any council reports? I mean, we had quite a break. Sure.
The Tourism Action Committee. November, we only had 3 of us attend, so I missed December. But our first meeting of the year is coming up on the 11th. The Tool River Planning Advisory Committee, I've reached out to Cease and Tom Fulton. They're headed somewhere sunny and warm. They haven't had a meeting for quite some time. So I'm just waiting for Jim and Kanina to let me know when they're going to have a meeting, and we'll start that off. The Heritage Society, the museum, the new building is going to be beautiful when it's done. We had our first meeting in our actual boardroom the other night.
Oh, nice.
So that was pretty exciting. Still lots of work to be done, little things that need to be done. Sadly, we've had to cancel the Heritage Days. The floor is an issue. It needs to be finished before things can be put in and the displays will be up. So yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful building.
Good. Thank you for that report. Are there any other reports? So then I'll just talk about, very briefly about the meeting with the Parliamentary Secretary, Doug Routley, about the committee, and the name of the committee is, I'm just drawing a blank on it right now, but it had to do with forestry, and it was forest renewal and jobs and a few things like that. And he saw our letter, and the minister saw our letter and asked for a meeting. So we, the CAO and I called in to the meeting, expressed our disappointment of the north not being included. Really, nothing north of Prince George was included from a forestry perspective, and we were concerned, and always are concerned when this part of the province is left out. You know, we're the farthest community away from Victoria, except maybe for Atlan, but but we are the furthest away, and sometimes we feel like we're the furthest away because that's the way we get treated at times. So he got it. He understood that we might be disappointed, and they, you know, his response was, we do everything we can to try to get all the representation that we possibly can from around the province. And you know, he's impressed by the fact that we took the time to express our displeasure, that we took the time to meet with him, that we have been trying to revitalize the forest industry in this region. And he was impressed that we have a very good working relationship with the nations and around us, because none of this will happen without all of us working together. And he gave a personal commitment that he will come here. And he will come here to see what we offer from a forestry perspective in this region and what we're trying to achieve. And that he will communicate, ensure that the committee communicates with us to get our feedback on the issues that they deal with. And short of him offering us a spot there, which I wasn't really expecting we'd get, I think that's probably as much. I think we should hold his feet to the fire and probably be prepared to show him something when he gets here. So that'll be on our agenda to sort of figure out what that tour might look like. But otherwise, it was the best brush off I've had in a long time. I guess I'll put it that way. I think that commitment was honest and sincere. Mr. Barry, do you agree?
Yeah, they're Jeff. We definitely seem to be a level of genuinism for sure with his commitment in the words.
Yeah. Good. So the other meeting that I had will be for in camera, but it was with Dave Nicolishin with Peak, and we'll talk about some of the things that we talked about at that meeting in the in-camera session, because there's some private conversations there. Okay. Any other council reports? Seeing none, there's nothing I see for strategic priorities. That brings us to the public. Are there any questions? Any online questions? Doesn't look like it, no. There's no media. All right, resolution to move to a closed in-camera meeting. Moved by Councillor Souls. Second by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll go in camera. Oh, right. I'm sorry. Let's call the regular meeting back to order first. So we don't have it here, but we're rising with the report. We're accepting that report from the in-camera session. Is that correct? Is that what you're looking for?
Can Res report the two resolutions?
Please.
So the first resolution moved by Councillor Dickey, seconded by Councillor Enox, that the scope of work submitted within the ICIP grant application for the Tilde River Community Water Supply be reduced to provide for the installation of the new well and a simplified treatment and distribution system at the community hall to provide the Toad River community with accessible drinking water, carried unanimously. And the second resolution moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Enox, that Jennifer Riggs' application to the Northern Rockies Recruitment, Retention, Education, and Training Incentive Program be approved under the resident completing healthcare training stream with a one-time payment of $2,000, carried unanimously.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, then the regular council meeting is adjourned.